Good evening, everybody. This is Pamela Parrish getting on here for 15 or 20 minutes on her Keeping It Real podcast. Here is where I keep it 100% real. And I don't know if you guys watched any of the Jimmy Kimmel monologues and Stephen Colbert monologues. Brilliant, 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 brilliant is all I can tell you. You know, Jimmy Kimmel was fighting mad. What most MAGA people don't understand is that Jimmy Kimmel offered up condolences to the family of Charlie Kirk. And he offered up a 100% real reaction to Donald Trump's actions after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Savagely, by the way. You know, he was out there doing whatever the fuck he was doing. And members of the media asked him how he was holding up. He said, "Oh, I'm doing great." And then he switches over to looking at this phantom new ballroom that is supposed to be built on the White House grounds, which is being paid for on our dime, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and I heard about the shit fit that he had over the statues that were on the National Mall for a day with him and Mr. Epstein holding hands. Yeah, that's their way of saying, show us the unredacted files for Epstein. Show us the unredacted files for Jeffrey Epstein. We're not gonna let that go. We're not going to let that go, Donald Trump. You need to know that we're not going to let that go at all, period. No matter how much you whine, cry, piss, moan, bitch, climb the walls, pee on the walls, shit your pants, we're not going to let it go. And to think that you're going to threat people like Stephen Colbert and any other late night host or news media, think again. Better yet, ladies and gentlemen, protest people like Nexstar and whoever else is not running the Jimmy Kimmel program, or any other late-night host that may be blackballed by Trump's so-called FCC. You know, and I heard about the big blowout he had at the UN, right? He made himself look like a petulant child who acted like a 6-year-old just learning to read for the first time. The teleprompter breaks down. And all his schmatz went right out the window, right? He says, "I don't need no teleprompter to talk to you." But then he's talking like really soft, like he's just learning to read for the first time. And then you hear about the escalator incident. People are having a field day with that. And people, not just on Fox, probably Newsmax, they want to arrest the people that may have shut off the escalator. But he doesn't look at the people that are around him that may have hit the button on accident. Things like that do happen, Donald. Things like that do happen. Things can break down when you least expect it. People get stuck on broken elevators. It happens. You know, people are fighting mad. They're angry. They don't like you, Donald. Because, one, you're not doing your job. You're trying to use this looming shutdown as a way of forwarding your agenda. You're saying, if you don't follow what I say, I'm going to shut down the government. You know, people are struggling right now, me included. People have to pay bills. They have to pay their property taxes, water bills, electric bills, gas, car repairs, roof repairs, house repairs in general. And they're barely keeping their feet above water. You know, and I'm going to have to deal with having my meter replaced, a forced meter replacement in my city. Yeah. I just got a lovely note from the city stating that you need to set up your appointment for a new water meter or your service is going to get cut off. It was mandatory. So on the 6th, I got to wait for some repair company to come here and put in a new water meter. I just hope they don't jack up my water bills, because that's happened to a lot of people that had their meters changed. Go to WSYX Channel 6 on YouTube, and you could look that up for yourself. I'm not going to share it with you. If you want to go there, go to WSYX Channel 6, and they were talking about this. One lady had her house completely flooded due to this new changeover with the water meters. Now, the company that's supposed to do this has been accused of not training their people properly, and they even hired people with criminal records. It's rather sad. And this lady, her house was so full of water when they were done. Her shoes were underneath the water. The beautiful wood flooring she had in her house ruined and trashed. And this poor lady is getting repairs done, and she still don't have her floor put back in. And she's hoping, beyond hope, that her house will be set back up before Christmas. So, yeah. But things with Donald Trump, it's going downhill really quickly because the UN has decided to ban Donald Trump, and he is not welcome back to the UN. And if he's telling other countries that they are going to hell, and he wants to close the borders for good, let me tell you something, Donald Trump. Your ancestry goes back to Germany. You know, Russia, Russia, Russia. You know, your niece warned us about you. Screaming and crying. I learned my lesson, seeing how our country has gone downhill since your first term. You know, and you can't blame Joe Biden for the mess that we are in now. You know, at least Joe Biden did his job. Kept an eye on our enemies and passed anything that needed to be passed. And he was looking out for us. After the Vegas shooting, you know, that Stephen Paddock asshole, right? You know, Joe Biden got rid of those bump stocks because that guy went to a hotel in Vegas and wanted to wipe out a lot of people, but he left no paper trail, none. The only thing he left was other places that he was scouting the night, you know, around the time of the shooting in Vegas. So, yeah. And, you know, your actions after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, you have no empathy for anyone but yourself. And let me tell you, I lost my parents, my dad in 2009, and my mom in 2013, at the beginning of the year in 2013. When I lost my dad, my body went into total shock. Everything I ate went in, but it would come out within an hour to a few hours. Sometimes I would have accidents, and I would have to get cleaned up and changed, just like I was a toddler. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. And my mom said, well, your body's probably in shock. And I said, I hope so, Mom, because I'm not looking forward to going to see the doctor. Then when my mom died, I eventually got my body back under control when my dad died. And she saved my life when I wanted to end my life, I wanted to unalive myself. I was starting to distance myself, hide out in the house and say, I don't want to go out and do anything. And it was Christmas, of all times. And I'm like, Mom, I really don't want to go. And she's like, oh, come on, sweetheart. Your sister wants to see you. You probably want to see her kitty cat. And your brothers, they want to see you. Come on out and we'll have a good time, I promise. I go out there, and I'm not really in the mood, but she gives me my gift, and she gave me a Wii that year for Christmas. And I'm like, Mom, and she said, Pam, you told me how much you wanted a Wii and that you almost went to Kmart and bought one. That's why I told you not to buy one. And my brother Jerry got me the Chipmunks game on that. So, yeah. But when my mom died in 2013, I was going through a lot, you know. I had won a contest to meet Andrew T. McCarthy. Yeah, that guy from Mannequin and St. Elmo's Fire and such. You know, he gave me a hug. That helped save my life. But those few months after my mom died, I was a walking zombie. I'm like, am I going to be homeless? Will my sister force me out of my house? Will I have to go to a nursing home? And let me tell you, a nursing home is the last place I would ever want to be, because those places are places where people go to die. And I know what I'm talking about. You know, when you walk in, you see the office, the false front, and the further back you walk, the more you smell urine and cooked food, all in the same room. And let me tell you, when my mom was in a special care facility after her heart valve replacement surgery, she cried straight for 2 weeks. She managed to calm down and not cry long enough for us to visit with her. My dad says, I'm taking my wife out of here. I'll hire the nurses. I'll hire anybody that will help take care of my wife. If the insurance won't cover it, I'll pay for it, is what he said. And the lady that worked at that facility knew my dad from Western Electric. She goes, but Mr. P, you can't do that. And he says, watch me. I'm going to call her doctor, and I'm going to set things in motion to get her out of here. Because they weren't walking her. She wasn't getting her medications as she should have gotten. And that poor woman was miserable. And the only thing that got her through was a friendship that she had forged with a lady that was dealing with severe cancer. So severe to the point that they couldn't fix this woman's broken arm. And when he got the clearance that he could take my mom back home here, she didn't want to leave her new friend. And the lady said, Etta, you got a chance to go home and be with your family. You've got family members that love you. You got 2 sons that love you. And I know you have 1 daughter. And this one here that you brought that came with your dad, with her dad, she loves you. She brushed your hair and she misses you. If you get a chance to get home and be with your family, go home and be with your family. They love you. And let me tell you, when we got her home and settled back in, where she could be with us, the family, and sleep in her own bed, the nurses came, they did what they were supposed to do, and that woman got better within a month. So, yeah. That's why I say nursing homes are for the dying, and they go there to be forgotten. But Donald Trump, your mental faculties are slipping. Your attitude is definitely slipping. When your little teleprompter broke, you spoke like a kindergartner learning to read for the first time. And if you think you're going to silence free speech in this country, you got another thing coming, son. Your actions of threatening people that are airing Jimmy Kimmel should be punished. He has the right to entertain and poke a little fun at things. If it weren't for mainstream media, we would not have R. Kelly in jail. We would not have had Bill Cosby in jail. we wouldn't even have Harvey Weinstein, the biggest predator, in jail. And the reason why you're attacking our media, and this goes for Fox also, the reason why you're attacking people who don't like Trump is because you like to spread lies, you only care about your own asses, and people are getting sick of it. They're tired of this clown freak show that you put on. I want to let everybody know as I get ready to sign this off. Anybody that here's what Fox News has been saying about shooting homeless people or putting people to death in certain aspects. They should just kill them, is what they said. We need to make Newsmax an example. We need to make Fox News an example. That if they make any threats of political violence, or any threats of violence toward Jimmy Kimmel, or homeless, or elderly, disabled, you should lose your license for that. We didn't ask for a demagogue that allows people to get sucker punched on the street. Or you said something to the effect that you could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose voters. Or if this was years and years ago, that son of a bitch would be carried out on a stretcher. That's inciting violence. And Donald Trump, you've got to go. You have got to go. Tucker Carlson knows that some of the shit you've done is wrong. What you've done is wrong. You're overstepping your bounds. You've overstepped them way too much. The Department of Defense is still the Department of Defense. And you just can't send the National Guard into a city because you want to. If anything, you should be paying for wasted resources. But, go and watch that UN speech. It is a man crashing and burning right before our eyes. And the Kinkle's talk is very real. The bruises on his hands are 100% real. And his attitude, his stank-ass attitude, is 100% real. So, yeah, watch Jimmy Kimmel tonight or in the morning. I watch him on YouTube. And I'm proud of Jimmy Kimmel for sticking up for our rights to speak. Again, he has offered condolences to Charlie Kirk's family. He's done so much good for this country, and people are saying that Jimmy Kimmel is shit. No. He's the voice of reason in this mess that they call the world, right? Comedy is a way for us to escape our pain. And, if he can point out certain things that our constituents are doing that is wrong, then he should be able to do that. Where was all the care and concern for the Democrats that were killed out in front of their house, huh? Or when kids were shot at a high school recently, the day Charlie Kirk was savagely murdered. They said nothing about the kids in Colorado that were murdered. So, yeah. In other words, Trump, get your head out of your ass and really start doing what's best for this country. And if you can't do that, it is time for you to leave.